Hey everyone, and welcome. Today we're taking a deep dive into the world of TikTok. You know, that app that's basically taken over the internet, especially if you have kids like I do. And let's be real for a sec, it can be a bit of a head scratcher, right?
Absolutely. And it seems like everywhere you turn, there's another article or news story about the latest TikTok trend, the good, the bad, and everything in between.
Yeah, and as parents, it's easy to get caught up in all the hype and worry about whether we should be letting our kids anywhere near it. So today, we're going to break it all down. We're going to look at why TikTok is so incredibly engaging for kids, some of the potential benefits and drawbacks, and most importantly, how we can help our kids navigate this digital landscape safely and responsibly. So think of this as your TikTok parenting survival guide. No judgment here, just real talk and practical advice to help us all make sense of this crazy popular app. Now, I gotta ask, have you seen how kids are just glued to TikTok these days? It's like they enter a whole different world when that app opens up.
It's incredible, isn't it? And it's no accident either.
Oh, you mean it's not just that kids have terrible taste?
Well, I wouldn't say that. But there's a reason why TikTok is so captivating, especially for younger audiences. And a lot of it comes down to how our brains are wired, especially developing brains.
So you're saying there's like a scientific reason why my kid would rather scroll through TikTok than, say, do their homework?
Let's put it this way. TikTok taps into some fundamental aspects of child development. Think about it. Short attention spans, a desire for quick rewards, the importance of social connection. These are all things that kids are naturally drawn to, and TikTok plays into them perfectly.
Okay, I'm starting to see the connection here.
It's like this perfectly engineered dopamine delivery system. Every time your kid watches a video they like, gets a comment, or sees their own video go viral, their brain gets a little hit of dopamine, which makes them feel good, and they want to keep coming back for more.
So it's not just the content itself, it's how it's delivered that makes it so addictive. It's like those toys that light up and make noise with every little thing the kid does. They just can't get enough.
Exactly. And the more they engage with TikTok, the more the algorithm learns about their preferences.
You mean that thing where TikTok seems to know what you want to watch before you even do?
Precisely. And that's where things get really interesting and potentially a little bit concerning.
Okay, now you've got my attention. Tell me more about this algorithm and how it actually works.
Well, it's all about personalization. TikTok's algorithm is like a digital detective, constantly analyzing your child's every like, comment, share, even how long they watch a video, to figure out what they like and what will keep them hooked.
So it's like having a personal entertainment machine that's constantly learning and evolving with your kids every swipe and tap. I gotta admit, that's pretty impressive from a technical standpoint, but also a little unnerving when you think about it.
It is a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or, well, not so good.
Right. And that brings us to the heart of why we're here today, to understand both the potential benefits and the very real risks that come with TikTok. Because let's face it, it's not all fun and games, right? I mean, on the one hand, you have this incredible platform for creativity and self-expression.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I've seen kids doing these incredible dances and making these really clever videos, and I'm like, wow, there's some real talent there.
And it's not just about the dancing and the music, although that's definitely a big part of it. You also have kids creating educational content, sharing their art and photography, even starting their own little businesses.
Yeah, it's like this whole generation is bypassing traditional media and creating their own platforms.
And that can be incredibly empowering, especially for kids who might not feel like they fit in elsewhere.
So it's like finding your tribe online.
Exactly. And it can be a great way for kids to connect with others who share their interests, even if those interests are a little bit niche.
Like, my daughter's obsessed with this one girl who makes videos about her pet snails. Now, I don't quite get it, but hey, she seems happy.
And that's what matters, right? But here's the thing about TikTok, and this is where we need to be a bit more discerning as parents. Just because your child is passively consuming content, even if it's creative or educational, doesn't necessarily mean they're developing those skills themselves.
That's a good point. Like, I'm all for my kids watching cooking videos, but it doesn't mean they're suddenly going to whip up a gourmet meal.
Exactly, and that's where parental guidance comes in. It's about encouraging them to not just be consumers of content, but creators themselves.
So instead of just watching someone else dance, maybe encourage them to learn a new dance themselves.
Precisely. Or if they're interested in video editing, maybe help them create their own little skits or short films.
I like it. Turn that passive scrolling into active learning. Okay, so we've talked about the good, the potentially empowering aspects of TikTok, but let's be real, there's also a whole other side to this app, the one that keeps us parents up at night.
Oh, absolutely.
And I think the biggest concern for a lot of us is the potential for addiction.
Rightfully so.
Because let's face it, this app is designed to be addictive.
It's like that endless bag of chips that you just can't stop reaching into.
Exactly. And with TikTok, it's not just the endless stream of content, it's the personalized nature of it.
Right. The algorithm is constantly serving up videos that it knows your child will find engaging, making it that much harder to resist.
It's like it knows exactly what buttons to push. And when you combine that with the whole dopamine rush we talked about earlier, it's no wonder so many kids, and adults for that matter, struggle to put their phones down.
It's a real concern. And it's not just about wasted time, although that's definitely a factor.
It's about the impact on sleep, on their ability to focus, on their overall well-being.
Precisely. And it's something we need to be talking about more openly and honestly with our kids.
Okay, so addiction is a big one. But what about the content itself? Because let's be honest, there's some pretty wild stuff out there.
There is. And this is where things get a little tricky, right?
Because on the one hand, TikTok does have community guidelines, and they do try to moderate content.
They do. But no system is perfect, and things slip through the cracks.
And kids are savvy. They know how to find what they're looking for, even if it's something they shouldn't be looking for.
Exactly, and that's where those open and honest conversations come in.
Right, like we can't just assume that our kids are only going to see harmless dance videos and funny cat memes.
We have to be realistic about the fact that they might encounter content that's inappropriate, upsetting, or even harmful.
So let's talk specifics. What kind of stuff are we talking about here?
Well, our source highlighted a few key areas of concern, and these are things that parents should definitely be aware of. One is explicit language and content. Even though TikTok has policies against this, it's not uncommon to come across videos with swearing, suggestive themes, and even violence.
And then you have the whole issue of dangerous challenges and stunts, which, let's be honest, have been around since the dawn of time, but TikTok seems to amplify them in a whole new way.
Absolutely. And it's not just harmless pranks either. We're talking about challenges that could lead to serious injury, or worse.
And we can't forget about cyberbullying, which can be just as damaging, if not more so, than traditional bullying.
Especially when you consider the public nature of social media, where hurtful comments and rumors can spread like wildfire.
And it's not just about the immediate harm, right? It's about the long-term impact on their self-esteem and mental health.
Absolutely. Like, imagine being a teenager today, already navigating the usual pressures of school, friends, fitting in.
Right, trying to figure out who you are.
Exactly. And then you add social media to the mix with its constant focus on image, popularity, and getting those likes.
It's like they're holding their self-worth up to this digital measuring stick, constantly comparing themselves to others.
And it's a comparison they can never truly win, because social media is all about presenting a curated version of reality.
So true. It's like everyone else is living their best life, and you're stuck in your bedroom scrolling through TikTok.
And that can be a recipe for anxiety, depression, body image issues, you name it.
It's a lot for anyone to handle, let alone a developing brain. Okay, so we've talked about addiction, we've talked about content, we've talked about the impact on mental health. And I know some of you listening are probably thinking, this is it, I'm throwing out the phones, we're going off the grid.
I get it. Believe me, I do.
Yeah.
But before we all go full-on digital detox, let's take a step back and remember what we're really aiming for here.
Which is?
Balance. We want our kids to be able to enjoy the benefits of technology, the creativity, the connection, the learning, but we also need to equip them with the tools and the knowledge to do it safely and responsibly.
Okay, so how do we actually do that? Give us the practical tips, the things we can start doing today.
All right, so first things first, let's talk about parental controls.
Oh yeah, those things I always forget to set up.
I hear you, but they really can make a difference. Most social media platforms, including TikTok, have built-in features that allow you to filter content, set time limits, even monitor your child's activity to some extent.
So it's like setting up some digital guardrails, not building a fortress.
Exactly, because like we said earlier, we can't shield them from everything, and trying to might actually do more harm than good.
So parental controls are a good start.
But they're not enough on their own. We also need to have those open and honest conversations with our kids about online behavior.
Okay, but how do we even start that conversation? I feel like my kids just tune me out the minute I start talking about internet safety.
I get it. It's all about finding the right approach. Instead of lecturing them about the dangers of the internet, try to make it a dialogue. Ask them about what they enjoy watching on TikTok, what they think about the challenges they see, what they would do if they encountered something that made them uncomfortable.
So it's about listening as much as it is about talking.
Exactly, and it's about being real with them. We
Yeah.
can't pretend that the internet is this perfectly safe and curated space because it's not.
And they know it, even if they don't always act like it.
Right. So let's give them the tools to navigate the good, the bad, and the ugly. Teach them how to spot misinformation, how to identify cyberbullying, how to protect their own privacy.
Empower them to be responsible digital citizens.
Exactly.
Okay, this is all great advice, but I think there's one big piece of the puzzle we haven't talked about yet.
And what's that?
Us, the parents.
I see where you're going with this.
Because we can't expect our kids to have a healthy relationship with technology if we don't model that ourselves, right?
You hit the nail on the head.
Like if I'm constantly on my phone, scrolling through social media, getting sucked into those endless feeds, how can I expect my kids to do any different?
Exactly. They're watching us, even when we don't realize it.
So it's not just about setting rules and boundaries for them, it's about setting them for ourselves too.
Absolutely. It's about being mindful of our own screen time, putting the phones down during meals and family time, showing them that there's more to life than likes and notifications.
That's a great point to end on. It's about finding that balance, both for ourselves and our kids, and it's a constant conversation, not a one-time talk.
Couldn't agree more.
Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive into the world of TikTok. But remember, this is just the beginning of the conversation. Keep exploring, keep talking to your kids, and most importantly, keep learning together. Until next time, stay curious.